So hello everybody, today I was going to do a video on my 2019 gaming and I was going to set it all up with a tripod and everything, but this is also the 4th day of kitten integration and you can see that this is the kitten. So Chits and Cats now has 3 cats. This one adopted us, essentially. He found me, he was mewling terribly almost 3 weeks ago, and we've had very bad weather since then. We've had -degrees, we've had centigrade, that is, and we've had several storms, and I just couldn't walk away from him, so I took him to the vets. They checked him over. He didn't have a chip, so I got him vaccinated, I got him checked, and then I just decided I couldn't give him back. So my mum kept him for 2 weeks to ensure that he didn't have anything that the vet couldn't check for quickly. So he doesn't have FLV, he doesn't have FIV, he doesn't have parvo, but I have 2 cats, so I needed to be sure that he didn't have anything else. And so since Monday he's been with us, and we're now on the 4th day of kitten integration, which means that my whole household is a total mess. And I'm just going to do a quick overview over the gaming of this year. And basically, I didn't play as many board games as I thought I would be, because all of you know that last Christmas I did a 12 days of Christmas gaming session where I played 12 different games, and some of them quite a number of times. But this year, with regard to board gaming, it was very, very different. It was a year that I didn't quite anticipate. So let's look at the games that I got. Well, first of all, and the least important one, and the one that I like least, is the Pathfinder adventure card game 2019. I decided to give this game another try because I do have some of the adventure path of Wrath of the Righteous, and I absolutely detested the game. I really didn't like it. It just doesn't compare to other card games that I have. There is no narrative to it. It's completely luck driven. Even the luck of the draw, because you don't have adventure decks that you encounter, but you just basically draw, you know, different types of artifacts that you get, or spells or traps. And apparently also Wrath of the Righteous is one of the most difficult ones and really difficult to play. I didn't know at the time, but you know. So I gave this another try, and the Pathfinder adventure card game 2019 is kind of, and I also have the Crimson Throne in there. It has kind of reconciled me with it. It's a very super light game. It pretends to be an RPG. Of course it isn't, but that's fine. For what it is, you can get some enjoyment out of it. I do get some enjoyment out of it, but you know, it's nothing to worry about. It's a deck builder, kind of, where you basically get better decks from game to game, or not. And it's an okay game. For what you get, it's way too expensive. So if you're not sure, don't try to get this new. Try to get, you know, secondhand, because it's way overpriced. The next one is Doom. I've only played the one game, but I really like it. It has potential, but it will never be as important to me as my all-time favorite sci-fi game, which is Gears of War by Fantasy Flight Games. That is, well, and I have to say that with my solo engine, kind of engine that I've created myself, this works really well, and I really like it. I like the miniatures. I've decided not to paint them after all, because I just have painting fatigue and overall fatigue and, you know, fatigue, so I'm not going to do this. But for what you get a lot for your money. The quality is ace. And I like the rules, and I like the game, and I think it's really great. You can play it against someone else, so it's an asymmetrical game. But you can also play it solo. They even have a randomizer of initiative cards, you know, so you don't necessarily know who comes next and who goes first. So I really like that. If you can get it, and I think it's easily available. I really like it. I've got the German version, but I'm pretty sure that the English version is just as good. Next up is Nemesis. Now, this is a Kickstarter game, and I think I may have picked up the Kickstarter version because I've seen people unbox the Kickstarter version. I couldn't find any difference between them. This is an Alien franchise-based game without saying Alien franchise on it, but even like the artwork is very reminiscent of it. And in it and I did do a playthrough. However, for some reason, these playthroughs attract spams from Russia. I mean, these are people with Russian usernames and they spam you with really weird one-liners like solemn warrior, and I'm like, what the fuck? Sorry, pardon my French, but I really don't like being spammed, especially not by, bots, because that's clearly bots speaking. So I will do a review, I will do a playthrough again, but I will turn off the comments because I don't want my channel to be spammed by mindless people or bots. Maybe they are mindless people, it could be. The first time I set it up and played it, I made many mistakes. I think the rules are atrocious, but what's new? People simply don't spend enough money on editing of rules. But I think it's a really, really nice game, and I really like the miniatures, and I really like the atmosphere of the game. It's tough as nails. You'll probably die. That's what happens to most people in the Alien franchise movies, but it is a really, really good game. Next up, so these are my, they are really nice games. But now we come to the most important part. And of course, this is not the most important part, although he's a very important part, but he's not a game. This is Hugo, meet Hugo. The games that impressed me the most this year, and I didn't expect it. That was Last Night on Earth, the zombie game by Flying Frog Games. I really don't like Flying Frog. I think most of their games are not very good. I really detested their Sleepy Hollow inspired game whose name I forget. I sold it as soon as I played it twice. I just think it's bad. I forget its name even. So I really don't like their games, but this one was great. And I love it, and I even got an expansion. I got the Blood in the Forest expansion. I got the Hero Pack because they were readily available, so I bought them. It's asymmetrical. So I use my engine, as it were, and it plays really well. It plays really quickly. It's really difficult. It gives you a lot of tactical choices. I was very surprised how tactical the game is. And it basically also is very thematic. Every time I've played, I've been overrun because of, there was bad luck involved. Okay. But then again, it is supposed to be apocalyptic. You do have choices. They do matter. But at the end of the day, if you happen to be overrun by zombies, you're overrun by zombies and you will die. And I think this is so thematic. I really love this game. I got it second hand, the base game, and it was in perfect nick. And I just have so much fun playing this. I didn't expect it to be that much fun, but it is, and I'm really enjoying it. And this is a recommendation. If you want a thematic game that deals with zombies that you can play against someone else because it's asymmetrical or on your own, I would recommend Last Night on Earth. The only thing is I find it really difficult to find out which mini belongs to whom, because sometimes the minis do not correspond to the character pictures on the character boards. But I'm not the only one who's observed this. Apparently there is a way, if you read the rules carefully, you can find out. But I just have 4 character miniatures, and I just basically painted them in base colors, and so I can tell them apart. Next up is my discovery of the year, and this is a late discovery because this is Apocrypha, the adventure card game, also by Mike Selinker, who is responsible for the infamous Pathfinder adventure card game PACG, which I think the whole series isn't very good. So I supported this as a Kickstarter years and years ago. It took ages for it to arrive. People were very pissed off with the whole process because apparently at some point they started selling these games at conventions even before the Kickstarters were fulfilled. And a lot of people, including myself, because I only found out after the fact on BGG that this was the case, were pretty pissed off. We funded this. We waited ages, and you start selling them? That's not on. So I got it and I didn't unbox it at all. It was still in shrink. Then this year, I believe I got the 2 expansions. I'd completely forgotten that I, ordered those as well, that they were part of the Kickstarter. But I think they arrived early this year or maybe late last year. And I ignored them completely. I was so fed up with all of this. I really, really didn't want to touch this game. I was kind of thinking, okay, I'm just going to leave them in shrink and I'm going to try and sell them. And then I saw a video on them by Geek Gamers, and I thought, oh, you do have this game. Maybe you should check it out. Because the mechanics is quite like the mechanics of Pathfinder adventure card game. So, and I didn't like the mechanics there because there's no story there. They pretend to have a story there, but there isn't. And so I thought, okay, they're pretending to have a story there, but there isn't going to be one. And then I found The Liching Hour, and that's a guy named Kevin. And he does streams of Apocrypha, but also of the Pathfinder adventure card game. And he tells a story. And he does it so evocatively that I was like, okay, well, I'll have to play this game. So I did. Between Geek Gamers and The Liching Hour, they convinced me that I should try this game. I did. And I was amazed. The mechanics are exactly the same as in the PACG with 2 or 3 differences. The cards are distributed completely randomly. But for some reason, the background and the story that you come up with, or that I came up with in my mind, makes a huge difference. I love the characters that they have, whereas these ones are so generic I don't care about them, but I love those characters, and it really feels like you're exploring a world of shadows, a world of darkness. Well, yeah, World of Darkness. I mean, it does remind me of World of Darkness to a degree. And I just think that this is a really, really good game. It was the biggest surprise of this year for me, and it is going to be in my top 10. Because it kind of does all of the things that I love. It's a card game, and I really love card games, and it has this storytelling aspect to it. Although it is random, it has storytelling aspects to it, and I'm very surprised by this, but it works for me. And then, last but by no means least, and this is kind of like not in the running, so this is basically, it gets its honorary doctorate from me, and that is Roombound. So this is Roombound, the 2nd edition Midnight expansion, and I'm just showing you this one because everyone who's been following my channel knows that Roombound is my one go-to game. This will be the game that I would take to a desert island with me. It is, I think, the best game FFG have ever put out, bar none. Not even LOTR LCG comes a close second, but this is definitely the best game they've ever made. And in 2019, I managed to finish my collection. I mean, I've said that I'm not a completionist anymore. And this is true. I haven't gotten Eldritch Horror, the most recent couple of expansions, and I don't intend to, not even secondhand, because I don't care for the game anymore. I think they've completely lost the plot there. But with this game, I have to remain completionist, and I have managed to get every single big box expansion. I paid a lot of money for them because they're out of print. And I got every one of the small expansions. And so I've now got a complete set of Roombound 2nd edition. And I know that lots of people will say, well, unless you've played 3rd edition, you're missing out. I have no fear of missing out. I'm too old for that. This may be a millennial thing. You know, you always need to get the most recent thing. I don't have to do this. I don't care for 3rd edition. I've seen playthroughs. It doesn't interest me at all. To me, Roombound 2nd edition will be the best game ever that FFG have ever put out. And anything that they produce will have to compare to this in my eyes. And I think nothing that they've brought out has ever reached this. So this is board gaming. And as I've said, I've done a lot less than I thought I would, and the reason is simply this. And this is the German version of the rule book of Das Schwarze Auge, The Dark Eye, which is Germany's second oldest role-playing game. And over the last 11 months, 12 months, I've done more role-playing than I'd probably done in decades before. I've been doing role-playing, tabletop role-playing for the last 8 years with a real table group. But something was missing. And I didn't really know what was missing until I started playing online. And now I know what has been missing, but I've now rectified this. And I have spent so much time and I've had so much fun role-playing online. So basically using Skype or TeamSpeak, also streaming. And this has been taking up almost all of my spare time, because I'm not only playing games, which is easier, because the only thing that I have to do is basically sit there, show up prepared, write up the story recaps, and because for one of the games that I'm in, I'm kind of like the chronicler. But more importantly, I'm also running games, and I have to count now. I've got 1, 2, 3 that are currently running, 1 that I'm planning, that's 4, and I finished 2 more rounds, although 3 of these were the same story, only with different players, so that's a lot less intensive when it comes to preparing. But I'm really invested in this now. Oh yeah, and I've got others where I play, but the ones that I actually run are the ones that I have to spend most time on, because it is very time consuming to prepare, at least the way I prepare it. I think that there may be people who do it differently and who are a lot faster at things, but I do like to take my time, and I do like to think about what I'm doing, how the characters will fit in, how it will fit into the world, and not just, because this is DSA, this is not D&D where anything goes and, oh yeah, this is just cool, so I'll just do it. But this is basically a world that has been established for 33 or something years, and where there is canon, and where there is thousands of pages of backstory and lore, which still holds today, which is still true today, not like D&D where it's all kind of like, or Pathfinder where just basically, oh yeah, we don't want this anymore, chuck it, so pretend it never happened. And so preparing this actually takes a lot of time, and it also means that I don't really have time for a lot of this here, because here I really have an audience of players, and I need to be able to provide them with the best experience. So this is where my time goes these days. This doesn't mean that I won't be doing any board gaming, and I have been doing some board gaming. I put out Last Night on Earth this week, and I put out a Roombound stream, a Roombound video, and I'm going to do Nemesis. And I have been doing a lot of Apocrypha this year, a lot of Apocrypha. And I did do the Doom tutorial, but I won't be doing Pathfinder ACG because, it's just not, it's not up to my standards of what I want to show on my channel, because it's way too boring. And I mean, I've played it for hours with different characters and taken them through the different scenarios to be able to tell you, don't waste your money. It's not good. It's okay. I won't sell it, but it's nothing to write home about. So that was 2019 for me, quite different from what I expected it to be. Also with regard to getting a third cat, which kind of wasn't what I had been planning on doing, but probably he needed us and he found us, and that's very important, because I don't think he would have survived if he'd been outside in this weather for the last 2.5 weeks since we've had him. So that's all from me for 2019. I wish you happy holidays and a very happy new year. And we will meet again in the next decade. So it's another decade that's ending in a couple of days. So see you then. Keep gaming and roll high or low, depending on the system you're playing. Talk to you soon. Bye.